Okay, this is week 2 for C++ Advanced, CIS277. We're going to go over just some basics this week. I'm not going to read everything for you on the podcast, just kind of go over what you need to be reading and what your assignment is, and then we'll be done. So it will not be a long podcast. And happy MLK Day. All right, the first thing is Kahoot. Since we are not in class, I will send this to everybody as a challenge. So when you click on this in the class, when you get a chance to go online in week 2, it'll be a challenge. And when you click on this for you to complete on your own. Note about solo learn for week 2. You're going to be completing the conditional and loops with solo learn. Once you're finished with all the modules, you will do a screenshot like so, and you'll know you're complete, or I'll know you're complete whenever, and you will both, when there's a green checkbox. And then you'll submit that screenshot when you're finished. You'll upload it in there. Reading is chapters 4 through 6 in modern C++, chapters 5 through 7 in modern and practical C++. Some of the reading that you'll be doing throughout the semester will look back at some of the beginning C++ syntax, all the assignments. So will be as what we normally use today in C++. So just be aware of that. The slides here go over practical C++, 5.1, 6, and 7. So avail yourself to look at all those slides. And then there's a podcast that we're doing now. Arrays, we'll look at some examples here right now over arrays, simple functions, and math. This first replet on arrays goes over, I'll go ahead and run it first to show you, and then we'll go over the line by line. So 5, 10, 15, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And so when the C++ app runs, just a refresher, it's going to hit the main first in here. And you'll notice in the main, it's got an array, one called first array with 5, 10, and 15. Second array, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And third array, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Then I call the function print array 3 times. First is the print array, and I want to call out 3 length because that's what argument is for, is the array first and the length second. It uses the array name in the cout. It uses the length in how many times it's going to loop. So in this case here, it's first array, it's going to loop 3 times. Second array is going to loop 5 times. Third array is going to loop 5 times. And the reason we know the 355 is because of the number of the arrays. Also, when you're creating a C++ app like everybody did for the most part in week 1, you're going to have to make sure and include the IOStream header and also the namespace standard for the cout CNs. Just a moment. The next example we're going to do is, again, arrays, on how to access arrays. So I'll go ahead and run it first. And so this has 2 columns, an element column and a value column. The element column is from 0 to 19. The volume column is from 100 to 119. You'll notice a couple new items in this one, and include IOManip for formatting and using standard set width for formatting. So in the main, all we have in here, we have an int n20, and is the array of 10 integers, and is an array actually of 20 integers. We're going to be doing 10 to 20. Initialize the elements of the array n to whatever, and update the change needed. So in this case here, we're going to go from int I equals 0, while I is less than 20. I'm going to increment it. So it's going to loop 19 times, or 20 times, 0 through 19. And so the first loop is going to be n0 equals I plus 100. So I, in the very first loop here, is going to go ahead and be the location I, 1 plus 100. And so in the first element here, element set with 13, it's going to be 13 over from the left, and then the value, and that's going to be here. And then the element for the value is going to be here in this part, and I'll see if I can expand this out a little bit to be a little nicer. There we go. So we have in this cout the element set with 13 and value. So element set worth 13, 13 spaces there, and the word value. This first loop is just looping everything, gathering all the data needed. And it's starting with the number 100. And the first one is going to be that. So the first loop here is going to be 0 plus 100 is going to be 100. All the way down to 119. And we'll see that here in the output. So the second loop is for int j equals 0, while j is less than 19. J is going to increment by 1. So we're going to do the set width 7 on this one instead of 13. It's going to go all the way till the end of that column, which is where we want it flushed up against there. And it's going to kick out after the 7th item. It's going to kick out the number. And so the first, just on the element column only, we'll focus on first, is 0 all the way through 19. Okay. On the first loop is going to be 0, then 13 over from that column here. So 13 characters over. It's going to be the value of nj, which in this case is going to be on the very first loop, 0. So n0 from up here is going to be 100. So first loop here is going to be the value for j in the loop, which is 0. Second value here in the value under the volume column is going to be output of the array n. It's going to start with n0 all the way through n19. And so we'll do, that's where you get the 0, 100, 1, 101, 2, 200, 102. Again, each loop, it's incrementing. So the second loop here, j would be 1. And 13 over, we're looking at the second element, or 1 of n, which is going to be 101. And then finally, when it's finished looping, it's going to return 0. Now, if we wanted to change this to just play with it a little bit, so we wanted to go to 40 instead of 20, we just change the cap on both of these to 40. And also here. And notice we start now 0 all the way down. Get my screen to come a little higher. 0 to 39, which is 40, and 100 to 139. So that's success unit arrays. Once you define them and initialize them, then you can utilize them as it is here in the app. Next is simple functions. Functions used a lot in C++. This is a really basic function. We got our IO stream, namespace standard. This function is going to add 2 integers and return the result of an integer and the third int to argument. So here we have a function called sum with int num1 and int num2. So 2 arguments in this function. Inside the function, it declares a variable called num3 and sums the num1 and num2 is brought over and then returns num3. In the main, it's going to sum 1 for the first, and the second is going to be 99. And then we're going to go to the function sum and then return 0 to end the app. So 1 plus 99 is 100. If we change this just to play around, we change this from 5 to 100. There we go. And that's a simple function. Again, anytime you declare a function, one of the ways to declare a simple function is as such. The name, and in parentheses the argument separated by commas, and inside the function itself, whatever code you're going to use to calculate or sum in this case, and then finally a return value back to the main or back to another function where it's called from. Inside the function where you're calling it from, we just use a cout statement to see it out, and then to know it's complete, a return 0. And then finally some simple math within C++. And this is just simple math functions. Well, anytime you use math functions, a lot of times you're going to have to include the C math header include statement. And so here we're going to declare some function prototypes. And here we have a sum function and 2 integers, a mod function, 2 integers for modulus. So we're going to have 2 functions, a sum and a modulus. And a modulus is a leftover divisional statement. So here in the main, we declare int x and y, and then we ask the user to enter the first number, then enter a second number, then call the sum statement. And then here, instead of sum of 2, it should be actually mod of these 2. And you'll notice the functions that were declared here, the function prototypes, are defined down here at the bottom. Here's the sum function defined and the mod function defined. Sum with a plus, mod with a mod operator. And both returning a value. So let's go ahead and run it. First number, I'll put 2. Second number, I'll put 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Mod of these 2 is 0. Go ahead and do another one. Let's do 3 plus 2 is 5. Modulus is 1. So again, modulus is a leftover divisional statement. In this case, 2 goes into 3 once with 1 left over. All right, so that's some real simple math just to play around and a refresher for most of you. Just some good examples to help you. Assignment for this week, you'll do a replit, lesson 2. Like I told you last week, when you're completed with it, even though technically you need to wait till I say completed. Like yesterday, everybody submitted all of yours by Sunday at midnight. I will not get those graded probably though from week 1 until tomorrow. And so that way at least I know that you've completed it by putting done here. And then you will get a prompt from me from Replit that I have, you know, basically click the completed button that you have completed it. But I trust you that you'll, when you say done here, you've actually done it. It's also a way to alert me that you're done, and I can go to Replit and check it off. And so one of the challenges in this one is using the get line cin variable name for inputs with possible spaces. And so you can definitely do that if you want to. And on the challenge, I will give you extra credit for that, up to 20 points. Review questions, read the review questions and reply back with the review questions from Chapter 6, Practical C++. And then discussion. Solo learn, what do you think about it? Give us your thoughts and reply to others, maybe. And that is it for week 2. Have any questions? As always, you can shoot me an email, follow the instructions on course success, step by step on what to do. If you need help, make sure to do the reading, watch any podcasts you need, carve out time to do the work, take a break. If you still need help, though, definitely you can ask for me help after that by shooting me an email along with your code and what questions you might have. So let's have a great week 2, and I will see everybody next week when we talk about conditions. Make sure and come to class ready with your chapter content read, and that is it. We will see you next week.